What's up, everybody? 14 Guitars here after the ride on the new YZ250X, not the YZ250 Woods Beast. Had a fantastic ride. I rode the North Loop again. First time was Saturday. We put the first hour on that bike. This is the very second ride. All I did to it is I took the forks. The forks were riding flush with the triple clamps, which is the stock setup. I moved them up 5 millimeters, which makes the bike a lot easier to steer. Maybe gonna lower them down to 3. We'll see. I might ride it a couple times like this to see what I think. I like the nimbleness of the bike that way, but it can be a little bit squirrely. But a lot of fun. I had a great time. The really coolest thing about this ride is after I finished my ride, I filled up the tank, and Chris and Stephanie showed up, the old hosts from Wambaw, the folks who are out every day just about grooming trails all over the state. I mean, from here to Parsons Mountain, they're grooming trails. They're cutting trees off the trail. You know, they cut probably 150 trees off the trail at Enery alone. Just incredibly hardworking people who love to be in the outdoors. Industry people. You know, they don't mention it, but these are like pro race car drivers who win, you know, pro races. Chris and his partner got Racer of the Year last year. They don't talk about this stuff. You might have to look them up and learn a little more about these wonderful people that work so hard advocating for us and then putting in the time on the trails themselves with equipment that we all pitched together and paid for. They put in countless amounts of their own money for this too. And probably 2,000 hours a year working on the trails. All right, enough of that. Stephanie's been looking for a new motorcycle. She's, I think Chris said she put about 1,100 hours on her KTM 200. She likes 2 strokes. She rode the YZ250 Woods Beast a few months ago or a month ago. And now she rode the X, and she rode the South Trail. When she came back, Chris and I were coking and joking in the, back at the trailhead, and we could just hear her banging those whoop-de-doos. Whap, 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 whap. Just, and I said, well, I don't know if she likes it, Chris, but she's definitely confident on this bike. And then when she came through the gate, she just let out the biggest scream. She just, woo! And we knew right then she liked the bike. She pulled up. She said, this is the one. Chris got a big grin on his face because he maintains these bikes. And this bike is completely stocked. I've done nothing to my bike but raise the bars up above the triple clamps 5 millimeter. Literally nothing else. I mean, I greased it, but there's no changes over stock. Stock jetting even. Here it is summertime, and that jetting is a little rich for summer. She loved the bike. She loved everything about it. She says, whoop-de-doos, what whoop-de-doos? And that's the feeling I get too. It really, really gives you confidence, high speed on the whoop-de-doos. I think I may have this ride, I think I might have done as well as I've ever done on the Whoops Tunnel. Where you come out of that little woods section, you come onto the connector road, and then you go way down the hill through the tunnel, tunnel of oak trees, and you're whoop, 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 you're going over whoop-de-doos. I think I may have possibly beat that, my best time on that. I'm not sure. I think my best time on that's from 2019 or maybe 2023. And I've come within 20 seconds of it before, but I just haven't been able to beat it. And the important thing about that is I think I've got the 9th fastest time ever in that section. And as an old dude, it makes me feel good, like I can still kind of do it. So anyway, super confident for me, and obviously Stephanie felt super confident as well. And there's nothing like that's a great feeling to help somebody out, get to try your bike, and then they can make a decision. It's fairly inexpensive. She's going to have a fantastic bike and really enjoy it. She was wondering maybe 125 or 250 because she's coming off of 200. But the power is just perfect for her and her skill level, which is pretty high skill level. So it was a great day for me. I finally got to give a little back to these folks who've given so much to you and me. So that's a great feeling, y'all. That's a great feeling. All right. Anyway, 4th of July coming. I hope everybody gets a chance to go out and ride and enjoy yourselves. And I think I'm going to get a video put out tonight. It is Wednesday, July 2nd. And then I'll try to get this video out within a week or less as well. Take care. Love you guys. Thank you so much. If you like my videos, hit that thumbs up bar right now. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe. See y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye. God bless. Guitars here at Wambaw Cycle Trail. A couple guys out getting a run in before work. I'd say it's about 8:30, 8:42. It is July 2nd, Wednesday, and we are going to ride for the second time on the brand new 2025 YZ250X woods bike. And I rode for an hour on the North Loop last time, a Saturday. And the only change I've made is I raised my fork tubes up in the triple clamps to 5mm. That's where I keep them on my other bike. So I'm kind of working on comparing the two. I'm not going to change suspension yet, although I would say my forks are slightly harsh at 10. I might take them to 12 on compression. This morning I'm going to ride the North Loop again with just this one change, and just essentially take it pretty easy, including the warm-up. I'm going to warm up on the trail. This kind of keeps me from starting out a little too wild when I'm trying to just evaluate. You know, this bike is new. I have very little experience on it, and I really want to get a feel for how it works before I go a little too crazy. Interestingly, on a couple of different sections that are recorded on Strava for my ride, I was able to get within about 20 seconds of my best time ever on Saturday and not even realize it. So that was a little bit of a surprise when I went and looked at these stats. So clearly the bike, this bike makes me feel pretty confident enough to run at a decent speed. All right, I guess I gotta wipe this off, which is very nice to figure that out. So, all right, let's wipe these off. I'll wipe it off on my seat, which has got a very nice soft cloth. There we go. Beautiful. All right, good enough. There was just a little dust on there from the last ride. All right, so today, nice, fairly mild ride on the North Loop at Wambaw Cycle Trail. After the ride, I'm going to meet Chris and Stephanie. And Stephanie's going to give this bike a try. She tried my YZ250 Woods Beast. And now she'll try this this Yamaha factory Woods Beast, because she's looking for a new bike and she does like her two-stroke. So we'll see. Let's just go for a quiet little ride, fun little ride, while it's still not too hot. This jetting is a bit rich, of course, for these conditions. 90-something degrees at sea level. But let's just go for a ride. Yeah, that's a little too sloppy. I think we'll turn that air screw out about a half a turn. That's about 1.5. We'll stick with that for now. All right, just a fun little ride, y'all. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you've been able to ride. I hope you can get out this 4th of July weekend and enjoy it with family and friends and loved ones and have a nice time. For those of you who have to work, your first responders, military, police, firemen. We sure appreciate your service. Thank you so much for what you do. Both my brother-in-law and his son are both paramedics in Columbia, South Carolina. Oh yeah. There's the steering I expected. A little squirrely steering that I've come to appreciate. Once again though, I'm not quite sure how severe of a change that will be, so we're going to take it fairly easy. I did put a suppressor, a silencer, a different silencer on this bike so that it has a flame suppressor, spark arrestor. Let me get my words right. I'm mixing up the guns and other things. So my spark arrestor. I guess it's the Pro Circuit 926 or whatever the heck, I don't know. I have the FMF on my other bike, and I just wanted to try the Pro Circuit on this one. The bike feels good, man. I think it appreciates the slightly cooler weather. It's jetted a little, like I said, it's jetted a bit rich for summer. So you can ride in the morning. The bike appreciates that. More dense air with higher density. Higher density means more oxygen molecules per cubic foot. It's the same volume of air going through my carburetor, but that volume of air has more oxygen molecules that are available to combine with the excess fuel molecules when you're running races. You get efficient burn. That's why I leaned out the needle a bit, not the needle, the air screw. Since our pilot jet, I believe, is a 50 or a 52. I think I could easily go to a 48 down here in summer, and say a 52 in winter. Okay, right there I had a little itch on my lip and I scratched it, so I was one-handed, and that kind of made it pretty apparent how much more easy the bike is to steer. The forks just about a 5 millimeter up in the plant. Just that little change. So I'm running slightly, I'm close to stock. I think I'm running 10 on my forks, 8 on my Rebound, and I think stock is 10 and 9. I'll have to look it up. Alright, we're not going to hit these whoops as fast as we usually do. We're still working on it. Feeling out how the bike responds. It does feel pretty good. I think I'm in fourth. Yeah, she eats those whoops up, man. Yamaha's done a great job stock with these forks, I gotta say. It gives you a sense of confidence. Whew, now look at that heartbeat. It's gonna shoot up. Now my gauges, I make my gauges for my videos using GARMIN VIRB edits, V-I-R-B. that editor is no longer supported. And in the old days, to synchronize the video with the gauges, in other words with the metrics, you can pull up a map, see where the bike was, like see where you crossed a road or see where you stopped, and fine-tune synchronization. Now, when they lost the mapping function because of an update to Google Maps, you don't see any maps at all. So I have to go by looking at the metrics in another program, getting close to synchronization, and then just trying different timing settings on the recorded metrics, which supplies the data to my gauges, versus the video. And unfortunately, you can only adjust the software 6 seconds per chunk. So I can have a maximum of 3 seconds leading or lagging. In other words, my speedometer might be 3 seconds in the future or 3 seconds in the past. That's the worst case. But if the graphics and my video actually coincidentally line up better than that, I'm working with 6 seconds, but let's say it actually lines up within 2 seconds. When I move a 6-second chunk on the timer, yeah, it gets me within 2 seconds on the gauges versus reality. So if you see my speedometer speeding up a couple seconds before I actually speed up, or if you see my course indicator changing direction a few seconds before I get to a corner, or a few seconds after I get to a corner, that's due to the synchronization issue. I can't get it any better than that with the tools, the free tools I'm using. So that's fifth. Fifth is really for a little bit faster conditions than I'm riding right now. Fourth is very good out here. Fourth is a good bit above third. Remember, on the YZ250X transmission, the gearing, first and second are exactly the same gears as on the motocross bike, the YZ250. But third, they moved it a little closer to second. So you can kind of, if you're navigating a rock garden or climbing a rock wall or some kind of thing like that where you need more precise control with your gearing, you've got essentially 3 gears covering a range. It's a smaller range, but it's a finer adjustment, right? So there's times where second's perfect. There's times with the YZ250 motocross bike, you might really want third, but third is just a little too high. With this bike, third is a little closer to second. And then fourth assumes you're going to be going fast. And fifth, even faster. And I actually, on my motocross bike, my YZ250, I tend to ride in fifth a lot. On this bike, it's a little more riding in fourth. That's the main difference, because the power band is shifted about 1,000 RPM. So this bike will make almost the same horsepower as the YZ motocross bike, but it makes it further up in the RPM. You give up about 6 or 8 horsepower. I believe it's 7,000 RPM. It's to mellow out the hit. It has to do with the CDI, which is the electrical system that sends spark, times and sends spark plug, and the ports on your head. So the ports on a 2-stroke head, those are the holes in the side of the cylinder that on one side let gas lead, or air fuel
fuel mixture, and on the other side they let exhaust out. So if you change the height of the cylinder by, say, machining the bottom of the cylinder, or adding gaskets to make the cylinder higher, machining it to make it lower, or just physically move the ports when you machine it a little higher, a little lower, that affects the RPMs at which the bike, RPMs versus horsepower and torque curve. And they've done they worked very hard to give this a usable torque curve. Now, since I do ride my woods bike, my motocross bike, in the woods so much, so that was that little bit of knife end. That's probably because my my bars are just, my forks are just a little high, so the front end can knife on you. Because essentially your steering wheel steers the bike this way and that way with less turns of the wheel. The lower you move this triple clamp, the higher these bars are. And that's something you got to get used to. Now, I'll probably get used to that in 1 or 2 rides. I don't think I'll change this back. We'll see. But that's not unusual. I'm still working on fitness after having 20 days off, 3 weeks off, even though I rode Saturday. It's coming back. It doesn't take too many rides. I'm still working on it. Yeah, now of course I'm all freaked out about how the front end feels. I just give it a little gas. That makes up for the swirly front end. I can steer with the rear tire. Check the camera this time. Last ride my camera ended up pointing straight down to my gas tank after a little get off. So we lost about, I don't know, 7 miles. Yes. Get back in here and just embrace this loose front end for what it is. I might go to 3 millimeters and try it just to see if it's a good compromise. 0 was not good enough. 0 was too stiff a front end for me to enjoy riding. It just felt weird. Felt a little too constricted. That means 0 millimeters above the triple clamp from the base of the fork clamp. Fork cap. That's where you measure from, the base of the fork cap to the top of the triple clamp. The standard setting for the manual is 0. That is pretty stiff. Pretty stable. Probably was a good setting for the first ride, to get a little used to the power with a little more stable. So that was 5th, and then I downshifted to 4th. 5th is fine if you're already going pretty fast. My other bike, I actually have 2 different engines, and one of them has the YZ250X transmission. So it's just a matter of time and practice to get my muscle memory. I haven't run the YZ250X transmission engine in 6 months or so, maybe longer. So I'm not used to that. My muscle memory doesn't quite know what to do. I think having this one with the YZ250X transmission and my other bike with just the regular YZ transmission. I think I might just, keep it that way for a while. So as I switch back and forth, I'll keep my muscle memory tuned up. If I ever have to take one of my YZs down, for some kind of maintenance, I will have a fresh memory of how to optimize the gearing. So this speed I'm riding now has nothing to do with the suspension. It's just the fitness thing right now. I'm just taking it easy. I don't want to stop, because if I stop and rest, I won't get back in time to meet Chris and Stephanie at 10 o'clock. So you may have heard my talks on stopping versus resting on the fly. Resting during the ride. You can rest during the ride. You can ride at 50% effort and probably go 75% speed. 60% effort will get you 80 to 85 speed. At least for me. Just take it easy. I just don't put in that extra 15 or 20% effort that you need, to keep your speed up right for every single turn. Still go pretty fast. So if you're trying to, beat the sunset or something like that, you're getting tired, try getting used to just slowing down and recovering on the fly. You see guys in the UFC do it all the time. You see guys in motocross do it all the time, right? The pros, where they slow down for a bit, or they just keep up with the guy in front of them that they know they're faster than, and then get good. Like, let's say you try to make a pass on a guy, and you can catch him, but you just can't pass him for whatever reason. You can follow him at a lower effort, right? Because if you can catch him, that means you can reduce your effort and stay even with him. And then you'll let yourself recover, so you get excess of oxygen in your blood, get your heart rate lower, get your muscles recovered, get rid of some of the waste products in your muscle system, and then bam! Hit the gas again. You've rested, pass him, and then you can slow right back down to where you were just resting, and he can't pass you if he wasn't resting. If he was going as fast as he could, you got him. He can't pass you. And for me today, 10 o'clock is kind of the person I'm racing against. If I stop, 10 o'clock is going to beat me to the parking lot. If I just slow down a bit until I recover, if I, put a little too much effort in, I'll rest enough that I won't lose too much time from stopping. I'll still go fast enough to meet my deadline at 10 o'clock. That's what I'm doing today, even though my fitness is down. I know I talk a lot about fitness, and I think for folks who ride all the time, it's gotta be so utterly boring to hear this old dude talk about fitness. But if you're a once-a-month warrior, it might mean something to you. You might wonder, what do I have to do to improve? It might be just you've got to ride every 10 days and find a way. Every 10 days, you will stay so much more fit than every 14 days, every 2 weeks. So if you ride every other weekend, that's 14 days. Maybe find a way to ride every weekend. Even if you only ride for 20 or 30 minutes on one of those weekends on some local trails. And then spend the other weekend, making your trip. If you just do a short ride every other weekend, you still are home. You got your honey-do list, you got your homework to do. You can not be irresponsible, not do your homework. And by homework, I mean schoolwork, and for a grown man or a grown woman, there's things you need to do at home on the weekend. That's not schoolwork, but I call it homework. because it needs to be done. And the consequences could be, you know, equally bad or worse than not doing your schoolwork. So, the track is definitely a lot drier than when I rode on Saturday. Yeah, I must just be tired because I'm in a slow comfort zone right now. So I hope it's not too boring. Feedback on the bike, mainly getting used to this easier steering. I got to pay a little more attention, especially if I would pull a tear off or something. It's kind of like a car with power steering. Early power steering is pretty swirly. So you get out of you learn to drive a car with your dad's pickup truck. You get out and this happened to me, you drive your buddy's, your dad's friend's Camaro, or Pontiac. Man. I'm definitely tired. Whew. Anyway, that thing steered so much better. I almost just ran off the road when I turned my head for a second. Now, this tire compared to that scoop tire is completely different. I bought a scoop tire, it's in my warehouse, because I'm not going to run this tire here. I might run this tire in the mountains, on the rocks, like in Brown Mountain. Yeah, I'm surprised. Now my wife is a bit ill right now, so maybe I'm starting to get whatever it is she has, and I just don't know it yet. I don't feel bad enough yet. Just a little tired. But my guess is pure fitness. Lack thereof because I haven't been riding. Put the blame where it normally resides, right there in the mirror. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about conflicts with people you love. As an old dude, I've learned that much of the time, more of the time than I originally used to believe, when I'm having a problem with my wife, which is very, very rare, it is probably 80% of the time my fault. I look in the mirror first, and most of the time now, after so many years, 41 years of marriage, I'm like, oh, I know what she's upset about. I know I did this or didn't do that. And one of the reasons for me that it's 80-20 is that my wife is almost pathologically conscientious person. Now, some people just call that normally conscientious or being a decent human being. I would guess most of those people are women, because guys, we're conscientious when we need to be, and we can be very moral, but we don't seem to care as much about the feelings of others. I believe that's a result in testosterone and other hormones and brain structure. Remember, the male brain, XY brain, forms differently to female brains, to a degree. You can look this up. I know it's fashionable to not believe this, but it's an absolute fact, undeniable fact. So, on average, guys care about stuff, women care about people. So it's built into us. It makes a lot of sense when you think about who will traditionally spend more time caring about the children, caring about and caring for the children, versus who will be dragging 7-year-old boys out on a 10-mile hike to his favorite fishing hole and have to carry the kid back on his shoulders because the kid's tired after hiking further than he's ever hiked in his life. And Dad's thinking, man, have I raised a wimpy kid or what? Now, hopefully you have enough insight not to think that, but that's not uncommon. So please give yourself a little slack if you're a little bit lacking in conscientiousness, but also where it matters, work hard to change what might be your natural response to a more conscientious response. Because for many of us, it will improve our relationship. Now, that's definitely not true for everybody. There are relationships where a woman might be appalled at a man who is a little less demanding, let's say. You know, she might be with this man specifically because she's attracted to an alpha male who also happens to be, you know, demanding and expect things to be done a certain way in the household, right? I never personally understood that, but that's because I don't think that way. But there are people who do think that way. So my advice might be terrible. Terrible for you if you're in a relationship where your wife really treasures the fact that you're kind of a grumpy, hard-nosed, semi-inconsiderate man who perhaps still does a great job of, you know, taking care of the family and doing all those things, doing what he has to do the right thing. But I think that's a minority, and I'm just going to fall back on, I'm going to rely, for me, on the fact that if things aren't going well for some reason in the relationship, to start with, looking in the mirror. All right, so this is the first time. Now, I don't believe that fork height should have any effect on suspension, like over whoop-de-doos or whatever. It doesn't affect dampening. I mean, there's some slight geometry changes, but I don't think it's enough. Yeah, so just as before, slightly harsh, but very, very, very confident. Very confidence-inspiring. And now you probably can't hear me, so I'm just going to ride quietly. Definitely confidence inspiring. Very much so. Since we did that so fast, I'm going to try to get up here to the other road as quickly as I can. See if I can't come closer to my best times. there in the whoop tunnel. I don't know if this is the end of it right here, or if it's up here a little ways. There's a little section there. It's like a 1.7 miles long, and I average around 4.5 minutes. I think my fastest is 4 minutes 20 seconds, and I think that's the 9th fastest all time on that section. So if being able to go down so fast, well, the front end kicked it, but the rear end got me in the booty. Whew, I didn't have time to lean far enough forward. To account for that. Big old spider on my handlebars, y'all. Right there. See it? So I'm not afraid of spiders, thankfully. I am blessed to not suffer from arachnophobia, but I feel really sorry for those who do, because even if you say to yourself, that spider can't bite me, you still have genuine fear. I have become claustrophobic the older I get, even though in my young days, I would go into these old gold mines where I had to crawl on my stomach for an hour, which is the candle for light. And if you got lost, you would die. Sometimes I'd be completely by myself. Like say it's a 14 or 15 year old, I wasn't very smart. And now, if I've got to sit pretty far back on the airplane, I have to just relax, breathe, tell myself, you know, this is no different than being in front, and just relax and do a little deep breathing, let the time pass. But it's a real fear. It's so real. I used to be able to do MRIs, and now I can't do an MRI without some kind of medication, you know, to calm me down. I guess it's Valium they give you. And then I'm like a little sheep nestled in a little dog bed in there. I feel very comfortable and peaceful. The problem with that is I can't go by myself and get an MRI. My wife has to go with me. We're going to medicate. But yeah, I completely know I'm safe in the MRI. There's almost nothing that could happen in the MRI that would result in the same result if I was standing next to the MRI. Like if a plane hit the building, which is one of my fantasies when I'm in the MRI. If I was on the outside of the MRI, the plane would probably kill me on the outside of the MRI as dead as if I was on the inside. And I think I can climb out of the MRI. I can squirrel, you know, my way out, scoop my way out if I had to. Pretty sure there used to be a tree that hung way over this trail right there. You'd really have to watch it making that left-hand turn to keep from bouncing off of that thing. Right now, I'm much hotter now after that whoop tunnel and keeping my speed up. My body's like, woo! Because it's about 85% humidity, I think, and 80 to 85 degrees. So look up something called the dew point. If you can ride when the dew point is in the 60s, it's a very different experience. The dew point is in the 70s. And if the dew point reaches 80, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously hot. They have a word they use, oppressive. Oppressive hot heat. All right, I just had to adjust my clutch, and so Mr. Spider went goodbye. about halfway done with this ride. So I will probably do another on the fly recover in this section, which I don't like anyway, and I'm not that fast in this section. I'm not bound to set any good times here. Save it up for the very last section, which I came within 20 seconds of matching my last time, my best time on Saturday after not riding for 3 weeks. And I think it's just the confidence that the suspension gives me. Maybe one day I'll swap the forks and the shock and literally see how it feels. Now, one thing that's just a fact is I haven't changed my fork oil since I rebuilt my fork. It has to be at least, I don't know, 200 hours ago, at least 5 years ago. If you go down in the description of every video I post, there's a link to rebuilding the shock for my other bike, my YZ250 would be. And if you go there, you'll see when I did it. So that could very much dramatically affect the way the suspension feels on that bike. I did recently change the fork oil and put in new fork oil. But I've neglected that shock. Because the day I put it in, I just set it and forget it. And it's way overdue to change the fluid. It's probably a little low on fluid. Because a tiny little bit of fluid comes out every time your shock goes up and down, right? That shaft is lubricated. It has seals that scrape against it, but there's still microscopic amounts of oil on there that there's no possible way to scrape off. If you did, your shaft would scrape along the seal, and it would, you know, there'd be abrasion there because of no lubrication. So I'm sure my shock is low on shock fluid, and the fluid itself wears out. It gets a bunch of junk in it, and its characteristics that make it work change. They degrade. One thing I can do if I want the bike to be a little more stable like in that sand, I just move my rear end back a little bit, a little further back over the rear tire. That's going to squat the bike a little bit more. If I measure squat with my rear end over the rear tire, it would be very different than how you would normally measure your sag. I say squat, I meant sag. It would squat down, increasing sag, just by moving your booty back. So you got adjustable sag on your bike. It's your center of gravity. Near the front, you've effectively reduced your sag. Sit near the back, you've increased your sag. In back, increased sag is more stable. Decreased sag, better steering performance. I mean, some would say that makes it twitchy, but others would say it gives me much better performance. All right, time for just a recovery. I'm going to quit talking for a bit and just enjoy the ride. My nose is running like crazy, so maybe I do have whatever my wife has caught. I just don't feel bad. Right, how do you recover? A little gentler acceleration and deceleration. Sit anywhere you can, get away with it. A little gentler acceleration, I'm sitting. I stand up where I have to, but then I sit right back down. Keep it in a higher gear. And consciously put an easy grip on the bike with your legs. And ease ease up with your hands. Baby chick grip on the handlebars. Nice and easy. Use heel pressure of your palms to push the left side to go right and the right side to go left instead of pulling with your fingers. So using your grip. I think that's third, fourth. Yeah, just back to fourth. I'm also breathing through my nose. That releases nitrous oxide, which somehow, I have to read up about it, affects how effective your breathing is. I think nitrous oxide dilates your blood vessels, making it easy for blood to flow, which means your heart can beat with less force to move the same amount of blood. The same amount of blood means the same amount of oxygen. I don't know if nitrous oxide has an effect on your lungs as far as how much oxygen they actually take up. I really do believe it's your blood vessels. And it has something to do with breathing through your nose. So I'm going to stop talking now and do that some more. Hopefully you can't hear it. Like you're trying not to run out of gas. Fourth. So it's a fairly mild acceleration. Fourth here, you're going to take 20 to get to 30. I'm not giving it full throttle, of course. I'm just taking advantage of the power, the easier power and torque at the lower RPM. Using this thing. Because at the same speed in third, with the same amount of throttle, I'm going to accelerate much faster. And remember, acceleration tries to pull you off the back of the bike, and you've got to counteract it with muscle force. If you accelerate easy but then speed up gradually, you can go the same speed, same average speed, but with far less work. That's kind of what happens with staying in a higher gear, right? You're already in a higher gear when you come out of the corner, and you speed up fast without shifting, and next thing you know, you're going pretty fast. Your average speed doesn't suffer too dramatically, but your energy use is so much less. remember, your body has a certain amount of fuel in it that once you're on the bike riding, you can't really change unless you stop, unless you ate something right before the ride, something sweet, let's say, which can be digested quickly, or if you stop and eat something, or you drink some kind of carbohydrate fluid while you're riding. So think of that as a fixed amount of fuel. Fuel has no effect without oxygen. Firewood sits there on the forest floor for 100 years. You don't get it hot enough and you don't add oxygen to burn. Let's say, so you can affect the amount of oxygen in your blood. And that oxygen is what's available to burn that fuel. More oxygen, you can more efficiently burn fuel. I don't know if you can burn more fuel. I guess if you were really lacking oxygen, you would burn less. You would be able to burn less fuel. There's some cap on the amount of fuel you could burn compared to if you have more than enough oxygen. So your job while you're riding, besides fitness, your cardio is the other piece of your fuel burn that your body needs. If you don't have efficient cardio, you're leaving fuel behind. You're not taking advantage of all the fuel in your muscles and in your digestive system. So if your fitness, your cardio fitness gets exceeded a little bit, do your muscles a favor, back off your speed a little bit, build that oxygen back up. In the long run, yet again, one of those little sections where I know I can rely on power in fourth gear with my other bike, where below 7,000, this thing's not going to have that hit. So the key there is to get that clutch in, keep my momentum, get the motor up, and feather that clutch out at higher RPM. It's very deep sand. You're going downhill and you turn through about, you know, almost 90 degrees. It took a while to get a feel for the best way to go through that. Definitely need to adjust the clutch in a little bit. Not where the clutch engages, but where the lever is. The lever's a little further out than I'm used to. And I just don't have quite as precise control over it. Mushy sand there. It's like powdery snow. Some guys live for that. A lot of motocross guys, sand tracks are their favorite. Pretty much anybody in Florida may or may not say that. surface. I should probably hit that turn about 100 times one day. Get a feel for the best way to hit it, get my memory up, muscle memory up on that. It still bothers me. Trying to go at any speed around that corner on that gravel. Here, on the other hand, I love this place. This section. The Black Forest. Alright, so third it is instead of fourth, I think, in something like that. Just keep it in third. Now for Round Mountain, I'll probably go down a tooth on the front sprocket. These are 14 in front, 15 in the back. I'll probably go to 13 in the front to really make it crawl in first and basically ride in second through fifth. But have that really low first gear where I really need it. I can just crawl it. Yeah, that power delivery feels really good. Third gear from whatever speed I was going just then, just giving it lightly nice that front end. We're almost back to the parking lot now. Or the right. I always went right, but it always seemed a little confusing that I could go on either side, especially when I first was riding here. I don't know why. Certain sections seem easy and others, they stick in your memory. Section coming up sticks in my memory as one that would bug me. Kind of get under my skin a little bit. But I had to be really careful. Technically, it doesn't seem much harder. But psychologically, for whatever reason, it really needs to get to me. That's fourth, I think. Oh, they're right here. They used to go either way. All right, that's fifth. Just feel it's just a little too high. Very easy on the body. But you just don't have the power where you might really need it. Going that slow. On the south, I'm going to spend a lot of time in fifth gear, I guarantee it. There's a lot of long, straight whoop-de-doo sections where you could just keep rolling at 30 or 35, steady, and you need that kind of acceleration. And gate. Well, that was fun. I think it's going to be about 9:30. So So let's put the bike in the shade. Listen to that idle. Boy, she purrs. She purrs for sure. All right, baby. Okay. Woo. Man, that was a good ride. If you like my videos, thumbs up please. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all who watch these videos. I hope you get something out of it. I hope you can get out. If you can't ride this weekend, I hope you can at least be with friends and loved ones, people you care about, and people who care about you. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.